Hey Charlotte County, this is Charlotte County COPWATCH, and this time it is Punta Gorda Police again. And this time it was about, some of you seen it, the Punta Gorda Police kept saying that, COPWATCH and YouTube has no effect on them, but yet that was weird. They've been bugging to meet with me for a long time. And I always said I want my lawyer because I don't trust him as far as we can throw him. And the other day they let me bring my lawyer. It was put a rating on the meeting. It was 2.5 hours long. I had a headache by the time I left, and we had to agree to disagree. It was 85 to 90% bad. It was useless. It's like talking to a freaking brick wall. But in that meeting, they talked about that they're supposedly going to get rid of the uncontrolled weapon. That's what I call these dogs now that they're using on people. And supposedly they're just going to use them for search and rescue and for drug sniffing, which I think is bull crap. I think that they train the dogs to hit when they want and then do an illegal search. And as you already know, they need to stop the war on drugs. That's an excuse to have a war on you. The only reason why they started the war on drugs was to get rid of any kind of dissent. That was in the 60s. It was a Nixon advisor that literally admitted that's the reason why they started it. That's one way that the people that were protesting back in the 60s and the 70s, they could get rid of them because they were free thinkers and they used to partake in drugs, which the war on drugs is bullcrap. As you know, freaking alcohol's a drug and it's legal. We tried to prohibit that one time, and that was just ungodly big failure. And then of course you already know the prescription drugs are worse than the street drugs now. That's why they're worth more than the street drugs. So anyways, so in that meeting they tried to say that they already passed this, and and I know we investigate, and sure enough, I even told them, I said, if this is already passed, send me the stuff. I'll do a PSA positive on that you guys are actually going to get rid of mauling people and causing major damage to somebody, major medical issues. And I mean, the one dog maul here in Punta Gorda, that was a $130,000 medical bill for having no light on a bicycle. Really? And then you were sued, and then you screwed the guy out of getting a decent lawsuit because he had Charlotte County Sheriff follow him around and constantly bust him. The guy is unfortunately an addict, and so they could bust him left and right. So we came to find out they did not pass it, and now they're scrambling, and they're posting it on their Facebook page. It's coming up for a vote on December 7th. I suggest everybody go there to the city council and tell them to pass this, because this, I have to admit, if they pass this is a good thing. We have to stop, letting these dogs maul people. This is insane. It's an uncontrolled weapon. It's like them buying an uncontrolled gun. That would not happen, even though it did happen. Because that same guy that let the dog maul the guy was the same guy that executed the older lady with a gun. So they can't even handle a real gun. So how can you handle an uncontrolled weapon dog? So this is a good thing if it passes. Northport needs to do this. They have 4 lawsuits on them right now because of the insanity of letting dogs just maul people, huge medical bills, medical issues. It's really sad. We're not Nazi Germany. We're supposed to not be. We're not supposed to be in the slave days. Slave owners used to use these on the slaves, on the blacks, and it's like we're going back into history. And that's why they say you're supposed to know your history so you don't repeat it. So we're making this video to let you know December 7th, Punta Gorda City Council is voting on this. Everybody needs to show up to tell them, yes, you need to vote on this. Stop using this as an uncontrolled weapon. It's un-American. Even the UN has been stating that this freaking dogs need to be, that should not be a weapon, period. They're in war, they're used, absolutely. I believe they're even saying in war you're not supposed to. So since they told us that, by the way, this is the Punta Gorda police brainwashing kids that cops are good and they're not. So like I said, since we had that meeting, they said they passed it, but they actually did not pass it. It has not passed yet. They are trying to supposedly getting it passed. And here it is. So here we had our meeting, then 15 hours later, boom, it's on their site. Because they don't want to look like freaking idiot liars, which they partially are idiot liars, man. They freaking lied to me and my lawyer. They would not let us record the meeting, by the way, even though it was in a public space. It was a public official. It was in his office. There's nothing in there that's confidential. That's what he said in the email, that we couldn't record because right, whatever. So here it is, redeveloped canine unit. And so December 7th, we got to find out when the city council is going to meet. We all got to go show up and say this insanity's got to stop. Like I said, proof is what Lee Cole already did. Northport abuses their dogs big times by using them on people all the time because they know they can blame it on the dog. Oh, I didn't do it, the dog did it. Really? Oh my God, can I let my dog do that to you? Oh my God, you would be in prison. So when you click on the link, and by the way, I am blocked from making comments because they don't believe in the Constitution and First Amendment freedom of speech. Is a government rampage, and I've been blocked for a long time, it's another lawsuit. We are still looking for a good lawyer on this. Government pages are being sued across the nation because it's violation of freedom of speech. We're supposed to be in America, not Nazi freaking Germany. But anyways, when you click on the link, and I'll do a screen reader of this, you'll see that they do got a link here. Redevelop a canine unit, which means we don't want to be sued anymore and have our stuff seen internationally. The View. A million people on different websites have looked at that video on the dog mauling the guy. It's really bad. In fact, the really sick part here is near the end too. They're talking about they're going to leave that the guy that's still on paid leave, that should have been fired and or in jail because, like I said, he let the dog maul the guy and then he killed that lady, executed her. He's still on paid leave, and they're going to give the dog to him, a dog that's worth $10,000-$20,000. These dogs are super expensive. They're, training them to freaking maul the living piss out of you, uncontrolled weapon. And they're going to leave it with this psycho, which that's scary. I would take it away from him, period. Because he can use it as an uncontrolled weapon again and blame it on the dog. So yeah, this is kind of neat how, like I said, they said they already passed this in our meeting with the lawyer. And they did not. It has not passed yet, so the city council can still vote this down. Yeah, I thought it was kind of funny. We meet with them. Yeah, we already passed it. And I'm like, great, I'll do a video. And then I'll say, well, actually, we lied, which you did. You lied. You did not pass it. It is not passed yet. And so here it is. So this video is good and bad. It's good they're thinking about it, but they lied. They did not pass it. And we need to go to the city council when they have the meeting and agree you need to pass it. This is an uncontrolled weapon causing major damage for life, scarred for life. I'm going to attach the Northport video that we made of their dogs, what they did. And the Herald did a great article on it. They interviewed the people, the pictures. It is bad. It is not cool. And these sadist cops think it's freaking neat. They think it's funny because they get to blame it on the dog. Really? It is the handler also that is a problem. They were sued so many times in Northport. I thought I did hear that they did get rid of the dogs for suspect apprehension, but I found out they did not. What they did do is they got rid of the old dogs. They got new dogs and new people, because these psychos in Northport literally were calling and texting each other for different incidents where they literally said, this is documented, come get your bite. That is freaking sick, people. Come on. Come get your bite. They were literally calling in other dog handlers, hey, come here and maul this freaking person so he's scarred for life. Jesus, sometimes for victimless crimes, it really sad. So, like I said, this video is good and bad. They did lie. It did not pass. So here's our chance. We can go to the city council and say, pass it, so they're not liars. Because so far, they did lie. It did not pass. So, go there. Make sure they get this passed. Stop this uncontrolled weapon.
PGPD seeks to redevelop K9 unit post date 12/02/2016 3:45 p.m. The Punta Gorda Police Department is seeking to expand and redevelop the current K9 unit, with a proposal set to be heard by City Council on Wednesday, December 7th. The police department's K9 unit currently consists of one dual-purpose K9 capable of drug detection and suspect tracking/apprehension. Each of these certifications requires mandated minimum training hours, thus removing the K9 from availability to road patrol for use during those training times. This proposal is in consideration of the cost and time associated with that required training, our demographic and the general level and nature of crimes in our community. The primary change in the unit will be to eliminate suspect apprehension and provide our customer base with K9 services that include narcotics detection and welfare tracking. From a cost-benefit perspective, these are the services that are most needed in Punta Gorda. Should the need ever present itself for a patrol K9 suspect apprehension capable, we would have access to that service through our current working relationship with the Charlotte County Sheriff's Office K9 unit. It is also proposed to bolster the K9 unit with an additional team, dog and handler, to double the amount of available coverage should a need or emergency occur. Acquiring K9 breeds that will add a public relations component to our existing program, such as a retriever or Labrador, is also a priority and benefit to the community. This shift in philosophy would require that K9 Spirit retire from the Punta Gorda Police Department. His prior training as a patrol K9 could be problematic in a school setting with small children petting him. Contact was made with the original donor that funded the purchase of Spirit, who wishes to remain anonymous, but expressed the desire for K9 Spirit to remain with Officer Lee Cole. After being advised of the possible shift in K9 Services philosophy, Officer Cole agreed that should the city opt to change, he would be willing to keep Spirit for the remainder of his life. This proposal reflects our department's practice of continuously evaluating and improving the channels for which we provide services to this community, stated Chief Tom Lewis. Prepared by Lieutenant Katie Heck, Punta Gorda Police Department, 941-575-5525, 941-626-1850, c. COPWATCH.
Lay down on I would have rather them tased me with the biggest taser they had than sick that dog on me.
Northport Police Department, recorded line. This is James. How can I help you?
Hey, James. Michael up in Sarasota. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Hey, we're responding to a suicide attempt.
I just tried to cut my wrists, and I was hit an artery and pretty much was bleeding out. I walked to the back after my mother said she was going to call the cops. So I started walking towards the back of the house in the yard, and I just collapsed because too much blood was running out. I vaguely remember them saying, "Show me your hand." I would have rather them tased me with the biggest taser they had than sick that dog on me.
Years of Chinese music and dance in one night. Incredible, groundbreaking, a cultural phenomenon. Experience Shen Yun, coming to Venice Performing Arts Center, February 10th through 12th.
I would have rather them tased me with the biggest taser they had than sick that dog on me.
Northport Police Department, recorded line. This is James. How can I help you?
Hey, James. Michael up in Sarasota. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Hey, we're responding to a suicide attempt.
I just tried to cut my wrists, and I was hit an artery and pretty much was bleeding out. I walked to the back after my mother said she was going to call the cops. So I started walking towards the back of the house in the yard, and I just collapsed because too much blood was running out. I vaguely remember them saying, "Show me your hands," vaguely, and there was no way I could do it. So I don't know if they thought I was not listening to them or whatever. But as soon as they brought me out of a induced coma, um, I could feel the pain. That it felt like it was cramping and like burning. They told me that I had an infection underneath and it was spreading, and that the only way they could do it was by an open incision, and then they would have to get all the bacteria out, and you can't close up a dog wound because the infection will just stay in there, so I had to leave it open. I really can't lift heavy things anymore because they had to cut through my stomach muscle, and they say that it'd probably take about 8 months for it to heal, so I can't really lift anything over 10 pounds, and if I stretch, it feels like I'm going to rip it open again. And, you know, it's just always sore and painful, and it didn't need to happen.
Law enforcement. Second suit against K9 unit settled. 2 more dog bite cases pending trial. By Earl Kimmel. Earl.Kimmel@heraldtribune.com. Northport, the second of 4 federal lawsuits filed against the city of Northport involving an allegation of brutality by the police department's K9 unit was settled this fall, while 2 others are on track for jury trials in 2017 and 2018. Preferred Governmental Insurance Trust, the city's former insurance company, agreed in September to settle a lawsuit by Danielle Drake that involved a June 17, 2014 incident in which she was bitten in the head by K9 Tommy, an 80-pound Belgian Malinois police dog. She was walking down a neighborhood street following a spat with her boyfriend when Northport Police K9 handler Keith Bush, under the impression she had been involved in a hit-and-run accident earlier that night, used Tommy to apprehend Drake. The settlement payment involved the sum of $35,000 plus other considerations. Drake's case was one of several detailed in a July 2015 Herald Tribune investigation of allegations of brutality by the Northport Police K9 team. A suit by Lewis and Natasha Langston and their son Tyler Langston, who was 17 when he was attacked by Tommy on New Year's Day, 2014, was settled last December for $50,000 and other considerations. In that case as well, Preferred Governmental settled the suit. Northport did not admit fault in either settlement agreement. The city's former insurer, PRM, elected to settle their claim without litigation, Northport Police Chief Kevin Vespia said in a prepared statement. The Northport Police Department has not been found guilty of any wrongdoing. We're thankful everyone involved can put this issue to rest. So far, the city's insurance company has paid $85,000 to settle suits stemming from complaints against the K9 unit. Pending possible settlement agreements, 2 more lawsuits against the city could be headed for jury trials, one next September and one in January 2018. The first lawsuit was by a plaintiff identified by the Herald Tribune in June 2014 only by his first name, Mark, because police officers had responded to a potential suicide call. Mark said he had slit his own wrists and was found by Tommy in a wooded area behind his mother's house. Mark claims he was near death when Northport officers found him, yet Bush ordered the dog to bite him in the stomach. That case is tentatively scheduled for September 5, 2017, before Judge Charlene Edwards Honeywell in District Court in Tampa. The other suit, by plaintiff Jared LeMay, stems from a July 2012 incident, when LeMay, then 18, unarmed and hiding in a trash can in his garage, was bitten in the face and back by police dog Como, under the direction of his K9 handler Michael Dietz. In that incident Bush, who also was responding to the scene, massaged Dietz, "Come get her bite," and followed up with him, "Gonna take her bite if you don't hurry up." That case is scheduled for mediation on June 21, 2017 and tentatively scheduled for trial January 2, 2018. Information from the Herald Tribune archives was used in this report. A doctor used 34 stitches to close the bite wounds a Northport police dog opened on Danielle Drake's face in 2014.
Okay, Google, turn on the hall lights.
Okay, Google, turn up the music.
Okay, Google, what's the weather?
2 babies train.
How do you say nice to meet you in Spanish?
Okay, Google, dim the downstairs lights.
I could hear the dog chewing and eating my muscle tissue, the tendon, the ligament. I could hear him just eating the stuff. It was the most, you just don't even understand how helpless I was. On several occasions, they were showing up at the door, and they were always saying they were doing an investigation, and it had to do with my ex-girlfriend making up these false allegations. And they were buying into her stories, and they just kept showing up. First couple times, we talked to them. Then after that, they'd be showing up in the middle of the night, banging on our doors, shining flashlights in it. It seemed like every week I was like walking on pins and needles, wondering what these guys were doing here. I was sleeping, and then, I heard the banging on the door, and I'm thinking, here, they're up to their old tricks again. And they're out there, and I believe they stayed out there for about 2 or 3 hours in the driveway, and they got on a loudspeaker, and they were saying, step outside, this and that, but they had been harassing me for so long. It's like, I didn't know what to believe with these people. I knew I hadn't done anything wrong, so I decided to stay in my bedroom. I just stayed in my bedroom. All I remember is finally I heard the door get cracked in the breach, and the alarm system went off. So I knew they were in here. So immediately, I turned my light on in my room so they can see me, and I open up the door, and I put my hands above my head, just like this. And as I see him coming around the hallway, there's a shotgun pointed at me, another guy's got a gun pointed at me. So I laid down on my bed, face down on the bed, put my hands behind my back. I got 2 sets of handcuffs on me, and that's when those officers just started beating the hell out of me. And then after they got done with that, this was what really did it. They let the dog chew and rip my leg apart. And the dog stayed on my leg while I was screaming in agony to get the dog off of me for at least 60 seconds, and they just let it chew.
Years of Chinese music and dance in one night. Incredible, groundbreaking, a cultural phenomenon. Experience Shen Yun, coming to Venice Performing Arts Center, February 10th through 12th.
Well, I have 3 young children that they know what happened to Daddy with the big wound on my leg. They're totally terrified of dogs. I've told them it's okay. Every dog ain't like that. I was at a party with a friend and my brother, and I got drunk, and me and my brother almost got into a fight, into a ruckus, and I left walking because I was too drunk to drive. So I was walking down the road and trying to go home, and was on the phone with my wife, and my phone died, telling her to come get me, but my phone died, and that's the last I can remember. I came to a little bit while I was on the floor and was in extreme amount of pain, and I remember screaming, and I knew I was in pain, and then my eyes just rolled in the back of my head, and I was out again. I was in the hospital, woke up in pain, screaming and crying. I climbed towers for a living, and I was out of work for 8 months trying to recover and walking around with a wound back on my leg and out of work for 8 months, and I have 3 children to take care of. I haven't even been able to even think about paying back that medical bill. It's up there in the 20,000s, and yeah, I mean, we struggle.
Scarred, Bite Stories reveal darker side of Northport's award-winning police canine team by Michael Scott Davidson, Herald Tribune/Sunday, July 12, 2015. A doctor used 34 stitches to close the bite wounds a Northport police dog opened on Danielle Drake's face. Police Chief Kevin Vespia later told the Northport Sun newspaper the young woman had been nipped. Photo provided by Danielle Drake. A doctor used 34 stitches to close the bite wounds a Northport police dog opened on Danielle Drake's face. Police Chief Kevin Vespia later told the Northport Sun newspaper the young woman had been nipped. Photo provided by Danielle Drake. Northport, the attack haunts Danielle Drake like a recurring nightmare. On a late June night in 2014, Drake said, she was walking alongside a neighborhood street, lost in thought after an argument with her boyfriend at his nearby home, when something hit her from behind. She was knocked face first into the pavement. The next thing she remembers was a massive dog tearing into her head, saturating her blonde hair with blood and opening wounds across her left temple that took more than 30 stitches to close. There was so much blood I thought I had cracked my head open, said Drake, now 20, who was employed as a senior caregiver. I was crying, screaming in pain. Northport police records show Drake was suspected of being involved in a hit-and-run accident that occurred earlier that night. When police spotted her, officers reported, she ran and hid behind a bush. Then, they said, Drake ran face first into an 80-pound police dog named Tommy. Scarred Project homepage. Drake, who was not charged in the case and has no criminal record, disputes that narrative. Her attorneys have notified city leaders that she will file a federal lawsuit against Northport, accusing its officers of excessive force. Northport touts its police canine program as an elite, award-winning unit that competes in regional and national field trials and has brought home a slew of trophies. But a Herald Tribune investigation found that Northport's police dogs bit at least 34 people from 2010 through 2014, more than the combined number of bites reported by the police canine units of neighboring municipalities Sarasota, Bradenton, Palmetto, Venice and Punta Gorda during the same period. Click graphic to enlarge. Click graphic to enlarge. Database, Municipal Police Department Canine Bite Records. Northport handlers commanded their police dogs to attack unarmed juveniles and citizens whom police did not have sufficient evidence to charge with a crime. In at least 2 cases, police dogs bit unarmed, suicidal citizens. And they have department policies on their side. Northport's police canine policies state canines may assist in the pursuit, apprehension or prevent the escape of a person reasonably believed to have committed a crime. That is an uncommon amount of leeway when compared to model policies set forth by the International Association of Chiefs of Police. Under Northport's permissive policies, its police administrators who reviewed 27 bites inflicted from 2012 through 2014 found that the canine handlers and their dogs acted within department policy in each case. The one bite that was marked for further investigation resulted in a written reminder for a canine handler to maintain control of his canine at all times. But in interviews, 5 city residents bitten by police dogs disputed the details in officers' reports of their attacks. All said that Northport's police canines maimed them. One man bitten in the leg claims he can no longer walk without pain. Another with a stomach puncture wound that became infected said he is in agony if he lifts 10 pounds above his head. Drake said she is plagued by migraines that last for days and memories that will not fade. Sometimes I get flashbacks to wiping blood off my face, she said. Drake and others who have been bitten say they are left with more than scars, debilitating injuries and emotional trauma. They also face crushing medical bills for which they are responsible, even though some were never charged with a crime. After analyzing more than 2,500 pages of police records, the Herald Tribune discovered that 37% of apprehensions made by Northport's Police K-9 unit from 2010 through 2014 ended with a dog attack. Key findings: 37% of apprehensions made by Northport's Police K-9 unit from 2010 through 2014 ended with a dog attack. Share this. Charles Meslow is a former Venice Police Department K-9 handler and one of the nation's leading researchers of the use of police dogs. Charles Meslow is one of the nation's leading researchers of the use of police dogs. That exceeds the 30% threshold that American law enforcement agencies use to monitor their K-9 units' performance for potential misconduct, said Charles Meslow, a former Venice Police Department K-9 handler and one of the nation's leading researchers of the use of police dogs. At the Herald Tribune's request, Meslow reviewed data about Northport's K-9 unit. "I can't imagine dog bites like this happening so frequently without someone noticing," said Meslow, now an interim dean at Northern Michigan University. "It's a basic indicator that there might be something amiss." Northport police records show that more than half of the department's bites in the last 5 years are attributed to Police K-9 Tommy, the 5-year-old Belgian Malinois that bit Drake. Of the 4 suspects injured by Northport's K-9s from January through May of this year, Tommy has bitten 3. In 2014, 12 people were treated at local hospitals after being bitten by a Northport police dog. It was a 5-year high for the department. Northport Police Chief Kevin Vespia declined an interview about the Herald Tribune's findings, citing pending litigation against the city. His department issued a written statement regarding the paper's investigation. According to the statement, the police department has reviewed all current legal authority and found that its K-9 teams have acted in accordance within the law and in keeping with best practices. K-9 usage by our department is a result of the types of situations we encounter, the statement read. Northport has a much different terrain and demographics than even our immediate neighbors. The tens of thousands of wooded lots are tempting to those who want to run from the law. Troubled department. The city of Northport could be a case study for how growth has changed Florida. In the 1950s, the city was conceived and platted by the General Development Corporation, which sold lots to workers in the Northeast as retirement and second homes. Blessed with abundant land and cheaper home prices than neighboring cities Venice, Sarasota and Fort Myers, Northport developed so rapidly that it is now the most populous city in Sarasota County, home to more than 55,000 residents. But with the growth came growing pains, particularly for the city's police department. A legacy of leniency, a Herald Tribune investigation published last year, found that 19 Northport officers have been investigated 3 or more times over a period of 18 years for offenses ranging from conduct unbecoming an officer to burglary. In 2014, a veteran Northport officer committed suicide as sheriff's deputies came to arrest him in a sexual battery case. On the surface, Northport's police dog unit appears to be an exception to the force's shortcomings. Never numbering more than a handful of officers, the unit has won more than 20 awards at regional and national police dog field trials in recent years. On patrol, the K-9's acute senses of smell and hearing are used to track people, search buildings and apprehend suspects. They can find drugs and weapons hidden from sight. Police Chief Vespia and Assistant Chief Anthony Siriani have repeatedly stated Northport's K-9 teams travel along the path of excellence. But internal affairs records tell a different story. In the past 5 years, 2 of Northport's K-9 handlers have resigned amid internal investigations. A third was removed from the K-9 unit last year and resigned Thursday. Bush Rice Dietz from Northport 960 Northport Police Department K-9 handlers Sean Rice, left. Keith Bush and Michael Dietz pose with their partners. Only Bush, 28, remains on the unit. Dietz, 39, resigned from the force after he was arrested for battering his fiancée. Rice, 34, was removed from the K-9 unit after an internal investigation determined he kissed a 16-year-old girl. City of Northport photo. Officer Michael Dietz, 39, resigned after he was arrested in March for battering his fiancée. The 12-year department veteran was found guilty after pleading no contest. He recently began a year-long probation. In 2008, Northport K-9 trainer and handler Noel Coward, 49, was disciplined after hitting a man in a bar during the Super Bowl. Reinstated to the force on the condition he stopped drinking, Coward resigned in 2012 after an internal investigation determined he had violated the zero-tolerance policy while at a U.S. Police K-9 Association event. He had been with the department for 19 years and a K-9 handler for Northport as early as 1995. Record show. Sean Rice, 34, was removed from the K-9 unit last August after he kissed a 16-year-old girl who was a member of the department's Police Explorer program for students. He resigned July 9 amid an internal investigation, according to the police department. As a result of the dismissal and resignations, the K-9 unit's most veteran member, Officer Keith Bush, 28, has 4 years of experience as a police K-9 handler. City records indicate that he has never been the subject of a formal complaint or discipline. Northport's number of police